showcase. Before I hand it on over to our speakers, I just want to go over a few things. First, we have that chat box. Make sure to drop your LinkedIn so we can all connect. And next, we have the Q&A. Make sure to drop any questions that you have for our speakers, and we will be sure to get to them at the end. Now I will hand it on over to Gabe and Chris with Human Listening.
Thanks, Bridget. Appreciate that, and thank you everyone for joining us today. And happy to be here, and appreciate Grainbook bringing this showcase today to talk about all things AI. So just want to kick this off quickly. So I'm Gabe McElwain, VP of Sales at Human Listening. I've spent the last several years of my career bring AI-based solutions to the insights industry, and I'm happy to be here this afternoon, or this morning, or evening, or in the case of my colleague Chris, whose accent probably gives it away, tomorrow. So Chris, quick intro about yourself and what we're doing.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Chris, and I look after Human Listening, and as Gabe alluded to, you can probably tell from my accent that I'm down here in Melbourne, Australia. I've spent my career on both agency and client side and insights and analytics roles, connecting stakeholders to their consumers, customers, members, and employees to help deliver better commercial outcomes. Human Listening is an AI-powered insights platform focused on creating a meaningful engagement with your consumers. It has a suite of applications to do this, from scripting and deploying surveys to analysing data and visualising it in dashboards. And of course, the topic we're here to talk to you about today, conversational AI, and Eve, our conversational AI companion. With applications to build, control, and integrate conversational AI into your research program, you can uncover deeper insights and emerging trends that will help you make smarter business decisions. I'm now going to pass you back to Gabe.
Thanks, Chris. So I think first we probably need to talk a little bit about the elephant in the room. You may or may not have heard of OpenAI and ChatGPT and GPT-3 and all of that stuff. If you've opened LinkedIn in the last few weeks, I'm sure you've come across this. But there's been quite a bit of conversation in the market research industry about the impact of OpenAI's GPT-3 platform on many of the things that we do for our clients. So let's just get it out there. We're definitely being bombarded with people trying out OpenAI's GPT-3 and the ChatGPT, whether it's people concerned about application in, say, the educational sector, or announcing the death of the copywriting industry again, or the misunderstood examples of calling out where the technology doesn't return a factual response, and even the citation of GPT-3 as an author on academic papers, or maybe Dr. GPT-3, if you like. So what we should do is probably start the session today here, and we'll get into the applications on conversational AI and market research, which will help you engage with your customers, consumers, members, employees, any kind of cohort of people that you want to engage with. So first off, we did ask GPT-3 what you are, and it's a large language model. It said so itself. It gave us a nice 3-paragraph answer. And you think about large language models, they're basically a predictive modeling exercise, which uses machine learning to basically predict the next word in a sequence. They're generally trained on enormous data sets. GPT-3 ingested over 400,000 books to build its predictions on what people would say and what they would say next. But the challenge still remains with making the output sound human to humans. It's definitely one of the biggest challenges that large language models need to overcome. And that's where ChatGPT comes in. Basically, it's a fine-tuned version of GPT-3 using the same architecture and pre-training, but it's specifically adapted to perform well in conversational language tasks. And GPT-3 is only one of a number of large language models out there. There are several and numerous differences that OpenAI claims it can do that others cannot. We're not going to get into the details of that today. That's a whole nother hour or two. But suffice to say that if you've tried it out, it can perform a wide range of natural language processing tasks and can deliver a very good one-way chat experience. We'll discuss what this means a little bit more in detail as we continue on. If we start off by looking through to 2020, Microsoft, they have a Turing NLG model that had a whopping 17 billion parameters, which sounds like a really big number. However, GPT-3 has put that in the rearview mirror with over 175 billion parameters. And so no wonder there's a lot of noise in the market about the human-like interactions it brings with it. The universe of large language models is growing exponentially. GPT-4, the subsequent version of GPT-3, is expected to be released later in 2023. And the number of parameters is going to increase to 170 trillion. Yes, that's trillion with a T. Just for a little bit of context, the human brain has approximately 100 trillion connections, plus or minus a trillion here or there. What this all means, though, is that the future is here. It's going to be an increasingly powerful set of tools for our industry to work with. So we need to work out how to grasp it with eyes wide open to create an engaging experience between the humans and the brands that they engage with. So how do we need to look to harness the power of large language models? When it comes to the application of large language models in market research, it's critically important to work out how you can put the controls in place to meet the objectives of a study. You want to ensure some type of freewheeling chat experience, but one that is logical, productive, and doesn't really lead the witness, so to speak. And then you want to couple that with the ability to have the output data in a structure enabling you to harness the power of meaningful feedback provided by your respondents. They're working hard on giving you answers, and you want to be able to use them appropriately within your business context. And data without context, I think we've all heard this before, aren't really going to deliver true insight. And that's where our conversational AI is able to combine the vast machine learning ecosystem that we've just shown with real-time human input to deliver immediate impact to your research goals. There is an important distinction to make, as truly conversational AI learns what's important not only by your responses or your participants' responses, but also figures out what questions to ask back. So in consumer and employee research, we're selling ourselves short if we're not able to follow up on the answers that we've been given. It's only with all of these elements included that you will be able to really, truly supercharge your insights program and deliver to the commercial outcomes of the business by making smarter decisions based on that human insight. So, show of virtual hands, I guess. Who here really loves doing online surveys? And I'm not here to dump all over surveys, because I think this is probably more of a rhetorical question. I'm pretty sure we've all heard presentations over the years at Green Book and IEX and other events talking about the difficulties of surveys, from programming to respondent experience to actually getting respondents to actually participate to bots and everything else. Though I do know if we met now and I wanted to get to know you, I wouldn't ask you to do a survey. I'd have a conversation with you and start building that relationship. I'm pretty sure I've met a few of you in person, and I'm pretty sure I also didn't send you a link to a 20-minute survey and then send you $5 when you completed it. And so when you think about it, this problem really isn't insignificant. When organizations want to have human-to-human interactions, they tend to run things like focus groups, but those don't really scale. And when you are looking to support business cases, you often lean on quantitative methods, which will, of course, give you the what, but they don't give you that why. That human engagement that you're looking for is lost. So what conversational AI does, it delivers that human engagement at scale. And in essence, conversational AI can be the unifying element that bridges the gap between knowing and understanding. We can look quantitatively and know that a product isn't performing well or customers aren't going to our stores as much. But understanding why has typically been a separate exercise, with a lot of hoping that the qual stories match the quant figures. So using conversational AI to not just bridge that gap, but fuse the two disciplines together, provides a more robust, streamlined, and contextual insights program. And this is where Eve comes in. Eve is our evolved verbatim engine. It's an innovative way of engaging with humans at scale using conversational AI. So Eve has been designed to combine the best elements of both qualitative and quantitative research to better understand humans through technology. So not only is Eve able to improve or even replace traditional surveys, Eve also provides opportunities for us to build brand engagement with our customers and create meaningful relationships with consumers and customers. Eve can save you time and money, enables exploration and confirmation of one study. It's applicable across product research, consumer motivations, and experiences and behavioral research as well. And more importantly, Eve provides dynamic insights. When things change, you can detect it because both questioning and responses are dynamic, and as are the analytic outputs. So Eve is a technology that learns. Every project deepens your understanding of the people who are giving you the insight that you need to run your commercial business effectively. So how do we actually do this? It's a lot of work involved. At Evolved and Human Listening, we often call Eve a reverse or inverted chatbot. We've trained Eve to talk to people to uncover insight for brands. A traditional chatbot might, for example, be built to ask a series of questions to put forward a solution for someone. You think of dealing with an airline, or even if you're like purchasing a car or thinking it. A simple example would be guiding someone towards options for a car that they want to buy. Traditional chatbot would sort of look at seats, what you use it for. Is this a commuter car? Is this fun? Or is this a family vehicle? But also what you use it for in order to make a recommendation. Eve will find out why you want to buy that car in the first place and can identify what it is that is important to you about cars before it starts doing that. First, Eve talks to respondents and is able to identify what they're talking about and probe on the responses given. Eve learns from all the conversations she has to identify insights and integrate that with an organization's own data sets to surface dynamic insights which a brand can use to take action. Learning loops also enable continuous improvement of the underlying models and conversations, so it actually trains itself to be smarter on what people are looking for. Our approach works to continually learn, not just from conversations run on our platform, but also by ingesting external data sources, so social media. I'm sure you probably have a few old verbatims lying around your desk somewhere from previous research and so on. Which leads us to getting better and richer data. I think we've all seen the box on the left, a simple verbatim response at the end of a survey. I know personally, I am definitely guilty of simply entering something like, no, nothing else to add, or everything's great, which really isn't helpful to anyone. But on the right was a quick glimpse of how verbatim data can come to life with Eve and conversational AI. Not only does using a tool like Eve get you better and more informed responses, just as importantly, it gets your respondents to be more engaged, both in their responses and ultimately with your brand. And this ongoing feedback allows organizations to do is make things, in essence, faster and better. Certainly reducing time to insight is critical for many of you. Being able to use one source to share the knowledge gained from the work you're doing easily and in ways that make sense and answer the business questions being asked. And then being able to really give respondents a much better experience, something we haven't really touched on, which ultimately equates to more robust, more accurate, and more meaningful inputs into that data that's being collected. And using a conversational AI platform can truly give you the combined experiences of qual and quant, giving scale to the verbatim data collected through conversations. Any of these outcomes would likely have a significant impact on the effectiveness of your research. Leveraging all of these and more becomes a force multiplier for integrating your customers' attitudes and thoughts into your business decisions. So I will turn it over to Chris to briefly talk through a couple of applications that we've seen conversational AI be of great use.
Thanks, Gabe. So I'm going to just start off here with sensory and concept testing, which we run for a number of clients across a number of different geographies. We often use Eve to explore the reasons behind consumers' ratings. It might be to understand what they like or don't like about a product, why one product is better than another, or what consumers believe the brand could do to improve the product. The model that drives the conversation is also then used to classify the open-ended responses. The model is important because it provides you with the control to explore the objectives of your study and can become a significant IP asset for your brand or the brands you work with, as machine learning can help the models improve over time from project to project. It's really important to work with a platform that can identify the chatbot's line of questioning from the consumer's responses for analysis. Large language models are going to greatly advance the time to insight as we learn how to harness their power, providing opportunities to shortcut the time to insight, delivering summaries of what your consumers are saying. The example above shows topics thematically coming through from a sensory study.
The red and green signifying the sentiment associated with the topic. On the right-hand side, we've then used GPT-3 to help develop a summary of what consumers are saying in relation to the intensity of flavour for the product being tested. Our customers are using conversational AI in many ways, whether it be CX or EX, all the way through to segmentation and choice modelling studies. Across industries too, whether it's retail, consumer packaged goods, financial services, education or professional services, both B2B and B2C. Conversational AI has a very broad applicability. In tracking projects, by creating your own persona for your conversational AI companion, your customers or employees become familiar with the experience they'll have, being able to talk about what's important to them across different channels, helping improve your brand engagement too. Think of it as supercharging your open-ended questions and providing contextual insights for the quantitative questions in your survey. A couple of slides back, I showed the visualization of our focus words application that can tag verbatim thematically, along with understanding the sentiment of the feedback, in that case, relation to sensory or concept testing. Another application is in customer experience. Via our Dynamic Insights dashboard, we can thematically analyze what's impacting the customer experience and surface what's important so that you can take action. You can understand the relationship between themes within your conversational AI model, and learning loops will make recommendations on emerging themes that your customers are just beginning to surface that aren't in your model yet, improving it over time. The other analysis can look at the themes between NPS groupings. Again, to show you the power of how we've been using GPT-3 in this context, coupled with the conversational AI model, we're creating summaries based on the feedback from customers. Not only can you see each verbatim, but help bring this together and bring it to life for stakeholders. This is an area where control is important. Fine-tuning of large language models is needed to support relevant, accurate summaries. We're definitely not at the stage of this happening without human supervision or review, but it's saving us time during the analysis and reporting phases of projects. In brand tracking, conversational AI can be used to understand perceptions relative to a competitive set and explore broader societal contexts that might influence consumers' perceptions of brands in the category. In this example, we're looking at the auto category and at a higher level looking at mobility. Convenience factors are the main drivers behind our reliance on cars. The analysis on screen has been done using the open-ended responses from Eve, our conversational AI companion, breaking down the topics people have spoken about and quantifying them. We can then understand the sentiment associated from this feedback too. We don't always get away from having traditional quantitative questions, but we are finding our customers are migrating to using conversational AI to let consumers talk about what's important to them and have text analytics do the heavy lifting. Using our differentiating terms analysis, we can show the relative presence of key terms in the Eve conversations for subgroups in the study. The more comments diverge from the centre, the more they appear for one group versus the other. In this example, females are significantly more likely to talk about walking, while conversations about electric vehicles and cycling skew more towards males. And finally, moving on to the brands themselves. GPT-3 is enabling us to develop the consumer's view of a brand's personality. This can be a great way to understand whether your internal objectives and positioning align with the broader consumer view and provides the contextual insight coupled with your traditional brand funnel, image statements, and other profiling questions to deliver a best-in-class brand health study. It's only a small leap across to ad tracking and ad effectiveness too.
Again, this takes fine-tuning of models and supervision of analysis at this point, but you can see the potential of large language models in enriching our elicitation of feedback from consumers and then the role it could play in uncovering deep insight that can support the delivery of your organization's commercial objectives. Well, that concludes the main part of the presentation. So just recapping on what we've gone through today. Human engagement through your research program is critically important. We're being bombarded with questions or with requests to answer surveys every day. Introducing ways to listen to your consumers in a meaningful way will give you much better insight on which to drive your business. Conversational AI, and specifically Eve, our conversational AI companion, can facilitate meaningful engagement. And coupled with best-in-class text analytics, delivers quality scale, giving you not just the what, but the why, the context to help inform your decisions. Controlling conversations for research is really important. Conversational AI models help support this, as well as other tools to help fine-tune the approach to probing and prompting consumers. This is something that should be top of mind for anyone embedding conversational AI into their research program. And lastly, large language models have been and will continue to be a great asset for our industry. We need to keep on top of advances of large language models, such as GPT-3, to harness their power and fine-tune their application for our industry and our use cases. So if anyone would like to talk about HumanListening or Eve, our conversational AI companion, and how it can help supercharge your projects, don't hesitate to get in touch with either Gabe or I. I'm going to hand back to Bridget now to facilitate the Q&A.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Sorry to everyone for those audio issues. I'm glad we got them fixed at the end. We do have some questions for you. So first, how easy is it to set up a model when you want to use conversational AI in a program?
I'll take that one, Gabe. Yeah, it's actually quite easy. So obviously depending on the platform, but certainly with HumanListening, we're able to, our conversational AI builder or Eve builder is using a number of, or can attach to a number of dictionaries and help you set up the topics, subtopics, and keywords, to enable you to quickly get your conversation going. Within the platform, we have the opportunity or the ability to make recommendations based on keywords that you enter, that you want to include in your model. So it can search and highlight synonyms for different words that you want to include. We can also ingest verbatim from open-ended conversations or questions that you've had in other studies and use that as a basis for a model build. So it's really easy to get one up and going.
Awesome. Thank you. With GPT-3 and other large language models making waves, why do we even need conversational AI models in market research?
From that perspective, I guess the importance here from our experience is that the models help when you have specific objectives that you're trying to achieve with the project, right? We've all probably had experiences with ChatGPT or with other chatbots on websites, and effectively they're freewheeling, right? They can, they are able to probe and prompt on whatever they're picking up within the conversation. The model really helps you create those topics and subtopics that are important. In a sensory concept, it might be about mouthfeel and texture and aroma and the visual appeal of the product. And then you are able to control the way that you probe and prompt to ensure that you're picking up on those topics that are important, and you can couple that with the harnessing the power of those large language models to deliver a great chat experience.
Yeah, and I think it also goes back to what we were talking about a couple in sort of the middle of the presentation, which is context is everything, right? So context helps regular conversations and interactions between humans, right? I mean, I don't think any of us like going to a meeting or something like that without knowing anything about it or what's going on. So I think that's why it's really, really important to kind of build out those models using conversational AI, because it does, you want to guide that conversation to some kind of endpoint, not just this sort of endless, I'm a toddler, I'm going to ask you questions until tomorrow.
Great. Are there data security considerations when collecting so much open-ended verbatim?
Yes. And I think this probably more broadly, Bridget, goes to, just the capture from of anyone's personal information when it comes to customer experience, employee experience studies, B2B studies, and even consumer studies. Obviously, there are controls in place across a number of different jurisdictions, whether it be GDPR and the California Consumer Privacy Act, etc., around housing data within a specific location. One consideration around large language models is where when the data or the information from the chat is being passed back to the sub-processor, and in one case it might be OpenAI, in another it might be Goose. It's about where that data is being housed, and is that being housed in that in a way that would satisfy the organisation's security requirements. So we're very conscious of that. An example might be we might have a client in the UK whose data needs to stay all onshore, but using some of this chat technology, the data might be going offshore for processing in the US. So we need to think about what that cross data, the jurisdiction when moving data across countries.
Great. And earlier you had mentioned thinking carefully about the data structure so that you can analyze the outputs of conversational AI. Can you elaborate on that?
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that one, Bridget. Can you just go that again?
Yeah, earlier you had mentioned thinking carefully about the data structure so that you can analyze the outputs of conversational AI. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes. So what I was referring to there is, if you think about it, the experience with conversational AI is kind of a question response type scenario. And in our experience, depending on the way the questions are asked, you aren't always getting, the respondent might not always mention the topic that has been asked by the conversational AI companion in their response. So that is one example of where you need to consider your data structure. It's not just the respondents' responses, but also the probing and the prompting from the conversational AI companion that need to be used, and you need to have smarts within the system to understand when you do and don't kind of strip apart or separate those two parts of the conversation. So it's really important up front to be thinking about how you're probing and prompting, and the way the data is going to come out of your conversational AI chats, so that you can put it into your text analytics system and get meaningful output.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris and Gabe, and thank you to all of our attendees.